When I first moved into the city, it felt like an orchestra, and I hadn't played the music before. Everything was really confusing.
First, I think it was a gap in knowledge, and a gap in opportunity, a gap in contacts.
I remember just sitting there thinking, I just have no idea what I'm doing.
My name is Michael Barrington-Hibbert. I'm the managing partner of Barrington-Hibbert Associates. I grew up in a council estate. The first person that gave me a chance was when I was 21 years of age, where I showed up to university with literally about £115 in my pocket to last me through the whole academic year, and was given a place to stay by a gentleman called Roland Smith, who's no longer with us, but he's a godfather to my children. And he invested in me, he gave me a chance. And one of the things that he said to me was, look, I'm investing in you so you can actually do that tenfold with other people. And that always stayed with me.
It was quite overwhelming. I'm a Muslim female of ethnic minority from a state school background. I remember walking in and thinking, is this all one firm? I was convinced that there were multiple firms in this building, seeing the big conference rooms, seeing everyone coming in with their suits on the first day, trying to fit into my shoes, quite literally, to see people who looked so polished and so experienced and sort of trying to fit into that environment which I'd never been in before.
I grew up in a very small town that very few people have ever heard of, called Hereford. A regular person that grew up in a small house in a small town with no family that ever left or moved to the city. I just remember it being very alien and very daunting because, bearing in mind I hadn't done any internships, no work experience, the only work that I'd ever done and been paid for was to work at McDonald's. That's very different to sitting in an office at a desk with some colleagues.
I sacrificed an awful lot of social and cultural capital to get away. So what I mean by that is, because I was so hungry to succeed, to deliver, I was the first one in the office, the last to leave. And what I neglected was that ability to grow from a social and cultural perspective. So I actually started to fall behind my peers simply because I wasn't necessarily sharing who I was.
They were holding a kind of Ashurst Muslim Network Ramadan event, and I didn't kind of expect that to be a thing at a commercial law firm, but because the host was actually unavailable on the day, I had to co-host the event in my first week. That was the first time where I saw other Muslim women in the corporate environment, and also very senior females in the corporate environment. So it was very inspiring, and that was the first time I felt like we could share our lived experiences. It really fostered belonging and inclusion in the firm.
Because of the background that I came from, I have never had that natural network where I could call Joe Bloggs, who happened to go to the prestigious private school. Everybody I've had to get to know has been me working to figure that out. And so the only sort of advice I could give to people and how I've approached it is, number one, just accept that it's a thing. Accept that you have got gaps, accept that there are things that other people have been given that you don't have, and then figure out ways to fix it and find ways of building authentic relationships with people that are trustworthy, that are based on delivery of really valuable things, and just do the work.
I think the notion of social mobility is super important. It helps bridge the gap between being from a background which is not represented in the city, spreading awareness, spreading knowledge, and spreading opportunity to get people from those backgrounds to places that other people are gifted so naturally.
I'm convinced this is not 100% true, sadly, but I believe it's largely true that good will prevail, good work will be rewarded, and you'll rise based on your brilliance rather than where you happen to grow up or which school you went to.
My background's slightly different, and it's only been in the last 10-15 years that I've been able to lean into that superpower, that difference as it were. I wasn't being authentic. I wasn't talking about where I'm from simply because I was embarrassed. But the reason why you get me onto interviews like this is that I'm proud of who I am. It's not about where you start, it's ultimately about where you finish and who you can actually bring along with you on that journey.